So winter has officially announced itself in Ohio. We woke up on Monday to that sea of white outside our windows. And I don't know if it was all of Ohio, but at least it was where I was at. And I actually didn't expect the snow to be sticking to the ground. Everything I heard said that it probably wouldn't stick. Well, newsflash, it did. It was hanging on the trees, the nice fall leaves. I was really enjoying the beautiful colors of fall, and they were just now starting to, fall to the ground, and we were raking them up. And then, boom, we're hit with that snow and that dreary gray sky, no sun at all. And we're hit with that knowledge and recognition, not just by like our minds, but our nervous system that, oh boy, here we go. Winter has come, and this is what we're in for the next 4 months or so. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about prevention, and that it doesn't have to be down in the dumps, bummer, and I just have to struggle through it as we go through this winter and hold on till April. It definitely can feel like that sometimes, but there are things that you can do to help prevent some of those feelings. And I want to talk about that today on the Cultivating Calmness podcast. So thank you for joining me. Yeah, so I don't know about you, but I used to love winter. If somebody asked me what my favorite holiday or my favorite season was, I probably would have said winter because I love the snow, and I still do. I love seeing the beautiful snow on the ground. And I sometimes make the joke, like, if I could have the snow without the cold, that would be awesome. Could we just bring the snow in the middle of, summer, and we can see it and it looks great, and we can throw the snowballs and we can make the snowmen, but it can be warm out and have the sun? That would be great. Obviously, it's not a Hallmark movie, and we can't just put fake snow all over the ground and, come into our winter wonderland. And as time has gone on for me, and as I get, really into my adulthood, I've noticed that I enjoy the winter less and less. I definitely don't like the cold. I am not a cold person, although I do enjoy sweater weather. So as a therapist and it being a little chilly, I love my sweaters. I would say more than half my closet is sweaters, and I enjoy them. So there's a plus. But, the dreary weather, the lack of sunlight and the warmth is a real bummer. And it can really have an effect on our physiology, our bodies, and our minds. And there's, a lot of reasons for that, not just that the weather has changed. That does change things, the physiology of, how we are coping, because the shift in the sun and the weather isn't just a shift in the sun and the weather. It has effects on our bodies and how we function. And if you don't know how to handle that, or you don't catch it, you may be playing catch up all season long. And so with the start of winter, I know we're in fall, and winter doesn't officially start till December. I'm hoping this is just a little, bump, and we'll get some, little warmer weather, maybe in the 40s and 50s instead of the 30s here really soon. And this is just a little blip. So we can still see those fall colors and enjoy the fall leaves and all that fall has to offer us. But, it still gives us a little bit of time. We set the clocks back. It officially turned to fall in September. So things are changing, and we want to prepare for that. Often what I talk to my clients about, especially heading into winter, is how's your vitamin D? Well, why do I ask about that? Your vitamin D is affected by the amount of sun. Well, starting, in September, that starts to change. Well, almost right away. We hit our peak, and then the sunlight slowly decreases. And then, we were feeling it. And then the times went back with a stupid time change. And don't get me started on that. We don't need it. But that affects us even more. And there's science out there that will tell you that it has a effect on our bodies and can really be detrimental to our health. Again, another story for another day. But right, we set those clocks back again, and so we're getting even less sunlight in those waking hours. So there are things that you can do to help, even if you can't exactly see the sun outside, like we did on Monday. You looked outside, no sun in sight, gray, dreary clouds, and it just felt like blah, right? So, when we have less sunlight, that decreases our vitamin D, which impacts our serotonin and our dopamine. All of those things are connected. And when it's cold outside, we tend to want to spend less time outside, myself included. And so sometimes we have to force ourselves to do that. And when we're spending more time inside, we tend to have less movement, so we're not necessarily going to the gym or walking around our office, where it's warm outside. You see, oh, the sun's out, I may go take a walk. You're less likely to want to do that when there's snow on the ground. Oh, I have to put on a jacket. I have to put on boots. I have to, right? And then we're all bundled up. And, this much of our body gets sunlight. Now, you're still getting sunlight through the clouds, so we can't discount that. I don't know if you knew that, but yes, you're still getting sunlight through the clouds, which is why on overcast days you could still get a sunburn, because the sun is still there and it's still shining through the clouds. You just can't see the actual sun. So you're still getting that sunlight, but you're just obviously not getting as much of it. And so that is going to decrease the amount of vitamin D in your system. And if you live in Ohio like me, you're going to likely have low vitamin D, because you're probably not getting it in your food, and you might not be taking part in other things where you can boost your vitamin D. So you may have to supplement with vitamin D. D3 is recommended to go with K2, because the two go together and they, help each other absorb. So oftentimes doctors may give people who have really low vitamin D a really high dose of vitamin D. And I can't say whether that is the best or not, because it's typically not paired with vitamin K2. So if you are thinking about that, talk to your doctor about whether you should also be pairing K2 with those high doses of vitamin D if you're already deficient. Likelihood is, if you haven't spent a lot of time outside, you're probably deficient in vitamin D, and you may want to talk to your provider and get on some kind of supplementation for vitamin D, or some other things we can talk about that may boost your vitamin D as we head into this winter season. When we have a more darkness outside, that affects our circadian rhythm. And so that less light leads to that melatonin shift in our system. And that leads to the sleep quality that we have may be worse, and we're not getting enough sleep, then we're more irritable, et cetera, et cetera. You can see the domino effect there. And then when we're feeling kind of blah, we seek those comfort foods, the high carb foods, high sugar foods. So when we eat those things, then we have that dopamine spike, right? So we get dopamine from eating good, those foods that we like, even though they may not be the healthiest foods for us. And then we inevitably crash, those sugar crashes that we get. And I talked about sugar and the amount of sugar that we eat a few episodes ago. And then that leads to some mood instability, because we're eating and crashing and eating and crashing. And we're doing this, all winter, because we're not feeling excited. We're not feeling good about things, just because the weather can really affect us. And more than just when I look out there and it looks dreary, it really has that physiological effect on our body by decreasing that vitamin D, by decreasing the serotonin and the melatonin in our bodies. And all those things are connected. So when, another factor is, when you look out the window, for me, it was ooh, snow. Snow, here it is, right? We have that mental memory, but we also have the biological memory, our body just remembers, and it remembers that this is the time that's coming up, right? Here we go. Nothing good's going to happen till April, right? Now, I don't happen to agree with that mindset, but I can understand why people feel that way. And on days like Monday, I was definitely not super excited. And I usually am really excited about snow, and I just wasn't this time. And so I took some pictures, and it looked nice, and I really wanted to see my fall leaves, so I was missing that all being covered up by snow. So that will hopefully melt soon, and we'll be back to experiencing some of that fall after this winter blast passes through. But it feels constricting, the winter months, because we are inside. We go outside less, and there's less contact with nature, less grounding, less outside time, kind of that novelty, the newness of what nature can bring us. And all of those things can lead to, those kind of symptoms of depression and anxiety that we may experience just from the lack of sunlight and the kind of changes in how we handle our system and how we handle life when winter comes. So some things you can do. So thinking about preventative measures, right? We already know it's coming, okay? And it hit us, I don't say hard, but, I'm in Columbus, so we only got, I didn't measure, probably an inch, maybe less. But I know up in the lake area, they got a lot more snow, and it was giant, snowflakes, and they tend to get a lot more snow, and I'm always really jealous of them. And my family that lives out near Boston, where they get so much snow, I'd love to just have that much snow, because I think it's exciting. But it can also be dreary. And one of the things you can do is to be able to find the excitement in life. What are some of those exciting things that happen that bring you joy? And being able to do those things despite the weather. I know my family, we tend to back off on the family walks in the winter because it's cold, because we have to bundle up. But that would be one thing that you maybe force yourself to do anyway. We're going to do the walk anyway, whether it's 30 degrees or 20 degrees or 15 degrees, or whether it's snowing or whether it's warm or rainy. We'll take the umbrella, we'll bundle up with the coats and the gloves and the hats and the boots, because it gets you moving, it gets you out of the house, it gets you to be part of nature, even though nature is a little cold. Those are things that you could maybe make a point in doing, and trying extra hard to take part in those things despite maybe the discomfort that they also bring. Because, sometimes it's not comforting to go out in the hot weather. It's too hot, I don't want to go outside. I'm like, I'm dying, right? Same thing is just the opposite in winter, except there's no sunlight. And so it has a more of an effect on you. So getting outside, getting sunlight within the first hour of waking, even when it's gray outside. So that will help with your vitamin D, but it'll also help with your mood. So getting outside, being outside for at least a little bit, 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a whole long time. You don't have to be out there for an hour, but that will have a positive effect on you. Some people will use those light boxes, and you can buy them on Amazon, and you can set them, on your desk at work, especially if you don't have a window at work. I happen to have a window, so it's awesome, but we do have some offices in my space that don't have a window. And so you don't have that connection to the outside. I know there are a lot of people that have offices that don't. Or maybe you can kind of see the window because you're in a cubicle, but you really need that light. So you can get those light boxes, and sometimes they can look pretty, and they're not super ugly, but light boxes can be really helpful. And I've heard from people, I don't personally use one, but I've heard from people who do use them that they find them to be really effective. So that is something for you to consider, is get yourself a light box. If you're not going to be outside, you can supplement with some of that type of light to help you out. Movement. Getting a minimum of 10, 15 minutes a day of some kind of movement. Outside would be great, but even inside, getting a walking pad, or, just walking around your house. If it's going to the gym, by all means, go to the gym. Maybe it's walking the stairs. I know my office, there's multiple stories in the office, and I went to go take a walk one day, and it was started to downpour, and I was like, well, okay. So I did the stairs, and it was definitely a different workout, one I wasn't planning on doing. I've walked the halls in my office building, and it may feel a little weird or a little awkward, but you're getting movement, you're getting out of your space. You can turn on an audiobook or something, and hey, if you have a friend in your office space, you could do that too. Go on a walk with them and circle the hallways and have a little chat, and do each floor, or what have you. But getting some movement somehow, doing some office yoga, just some movement will help you to feel better. Making sure you're getting vitamin D and omega-3s. Those omega-3 fatty acids are going to be really good for you, and also it's a natural way to support those vitamin Ds. So you're usually deficient before we even hit the season, because we're not necessarily getting the omega-3s in our diet. So if that's the case, you may really feel behind, hitting that snow that we got on Monday already. And so supplementation may be really important for you if you're already feeling kind of low. But always get tested. Go ask your doctor to run some labs and find out what your levels are so that you know where you're at. And then maybe getting tested a little bit later, come January, February, to see how you're doing. And if you need more, if you're feeling particularly low, you might need more vitamin D or other supplementation. B12 is another vitamin that we tend to be deficient in. And I have seen people go from being severely depressed to getting a B12 injection, and their mood changes. And so I'm not saying that's always the case, and it's not a miracle cure, but when we are deficient in minerals and vitamins, we can feel bad. So getting the right supplementation can be a miracle for some people. And for some, it's going to just help you feel a little better. Planning to have social interactions, doing things that you enjoy. Don't isolate just because it's winter, just because, we're cold, just because, a sickness goes around. And we've talked about that in some of my past episodes. So go back and listen to that and how to help yourself with that. Some people are afraid to be around other people because, oh no, I might get a cold. Yeah, that's a possibility. But is it worth the social isolation from the people you care about and doing things with others? So finding ways to get out, putting it on your calendar, planning things well in advance so that you are engaged in these interactions with other people, so that you can, have a good time, and make it a priority. And that's why, putting it on your schedule is important. Finding those ways to have joy. So for me, one of the things that I love to do it year round, but especially in the holiday, winter, fall time is when there's a lot of craft shows, vendor shows, people that make things. I have just always loved going to those things. I don't know. It started when I was younger. When I was little, I had a grandma and an aunt who would take me to those types of things all the time. And so I would always go with them. And you don't always have to buy things. Sometimes it's just great to look at things and see how creative other people can be. And for me, that's one of the things that I really look forward to. Whenever there's one going on around town, I want to make a point to go, even if I'm, can't buy anything, even if funds are low, or, it's just, I don't see anything that really stands out. It's just fun. It's fun to look at things. And sometimes those places are crowded. Sometimes they're not. And for me, that brings me joy. And so they go on my calendar. It's something I try to go to. You don't have to spend all day. You can spend an hour or two, see really cool things. As an adult, I make a point to try to go to them, and that's where I get a lot of my gifts. And so I'm always looking for other people. Ooh, who would that be nice for? Who could I get that for? And I will collect those things all year round, but especially in, the winter time, it's a good time to find gifts for people. And it's a good way to shop local and find special gifts for people from those makers and those creators that are not big business, but are smaller businesses, and support your neighbor and other small business people. So that brings me a lot of joy. And that was actually something that came up in the conference that I went to recently. One of the keynote speaker talked about your triessence, and talking about one of the questions she had us kind of talk with a partner or someone sitting next to us was like, what is something that you enjoy doing? And for some of us, it took a little thinking. And that was what I shared with the person I sat next to, was going to these craft shows. And it stemmed from doing them when I was little. And now I bring my kids to them. And, they kind of go begrudgingly right now, but maybe someday they will also enjoy going. going, and they'll be like me when they get older, and they'll enjoy going and creating, and maybe they will sell things and create things. So it doesn't have to be just a moment. It could be something that builds into something else for other generations. So thinking about ways you can incorporate that with your kids. 1 year, and hey, I may do it again this year. I don't know. The metro parks around here have this little like passport book, and sometimes they have little like tasks or challenges where they want you to hit a certain number of the metro parks within, a month, or the winter months. And then if you get a stamp in each of them and you submit it, then you can get a prize, or, something like that. So one winter, it's probably 2 or 3 ago now, I did that with my kids. So on days off, or usually those are the weekends, we would hit the different ones, and we would, I would say we're going to at least do a mile walk. And sometimes there was a lot of snow, had the snow boots on and the gloves, and, the kids went and played on the playground in the snow in their snow, outfits and clothes. And yeah, it was freezing, but we also had fun, and we explored, and we looked for things. And sometimes they had little activities where you were looking for things that they purposely, put out there, and you could collect them and find them. So that's something you could do just to get yourself out. Make a point to go hike at different parks or explore different areas and get outside. Christmas lights. I love Christmas lights. So that's usually, it tends to be something you may do in your car, but you could also find, go to the zoo. Our local zoo, Columbus Zoo, has the Christmas lights. You can go and walk around and get outside and go see those lights. It's a really awesome experience. So getting out and finding those things that purposely bring you joy. I would say to get those things on your calendar, make a point to do them, try something new, go explore other activities. There's all kinds of activities that are out there in the wintertime, just like there are the summer. They're just usually more indoors, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you may find another activity that you like, and maybe you find one that you definitely don't like, and you can cross that off the list. But you may surprise yourself. You may find something that you truly do enjoy a lot, and it may be worth it. So we want to look at winter as not a problem, but as something that you have to survive, but a season to prepare for and to prepare our system for. And so those steps that I talked about, being able to supplement if needed, getting yourself outside, getting yourself like a light box. I didn't mention like red light and saunas. Those things are going to be really helpful for you. Some things I've talked about previously in other episodes, even like cold plunges. Going outside, go sit in the snow. It's kind of like a cold plunge, right? You're sparking that immune system, and you're getting yourself activated, and you're providing yourself that needed like dopamine and serotonin, and you're getting it in different ways. Eating healthy, not eating all the junk food, healing your gut. Those are all things that you can do despite it being winter, to help yourself get through the winter and to feel better while doing it. So just because you woke up on Monday to doom and gloom and winter and blah, finding the joy in the small things, enjoying like the pretty snow, despite the traffic, right? And despite it covering up our pretty leaves, being able to find those things and not think of it as like a downer, but think of it as temporary and something I can enjoy. And what else can I do about it? I hope that you can take some of these things into consideration as you head into winter, wherever you are. But here in Ohio, it seems to have started at least a little bit. And I don't want you to feel like there's nothing you can do about it, because you can. You can do something about it. You can take control, and you don't have to let the weather take control of you. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Hopefully we don't have too much more snow this week, and we can have a little reprieve before we get much more of it as we head deeper into winter. See you next week.